Hello, Recapped Mystery here. Today, I'm going to explain a comedy, crime, action film titled 21 Jump Street. Watch out and take care. Morton Schmidt is the school's nerd who never asks his long-term crush to prom. Greg Jenko is the school's jock who is barred from attending prom due to his poor academic performance. That is the only thing they have in common. After 7 years, Schmidt and Jenko run into each other again at the police school. They become friends and compensate for one another's shortcomings by Schmidt assisting Jenko with his studies and Jenko motivating Schmidt through physical activity. They graduate as partners, but are assigned to park patrol, a duty filled with tedious tasks. They come upon a group of motorcyclists who are smoking kush. They approach them and inspect their belongings, discovering an illicit substance. Some of them flee, but Jenko catches one and shackles him. They rejoice, perhaps a little too much. They are pleased with themselves after their first arrest. The police must release him, though, because Jenko failed to read him his Miranda rights. Because of their youth, the two are sent to a resurrected special unit at 21 Jump Street. It's a Korean church, a cheap hiding where they meet Captain Dixon, who says that the department specializes in infiltrating high schools and that they were chosen for their youth. There are two guidelines. First, they cannot be expelled, and second, they cannot have relationships with students, referring to Jenko rather than Schmidt. Dixon summons the pair to his office. A new synthetic drug, HFS candy, is being distributed at Schmidt's and Jenko's old high school, and they have been tasked with preventing it from spreading to other campuses by infiltrating the cellars and tracking down the supplier. They are given new cover identities as brothers. Schmidt prays to the Korean Jesus, upset that he has to return to school after such a traumatic event. Jenko mocks him, and Dixon tells him to cease the nonsense because they will be residing at Schmidt's parents' house for the duration of the undercover operation. His parents make him look ridiculous in front of Jenko. Schmidt glances through his school album in his room, remembering how popular Jenko was while he was not. Jenko begins instructing Schmidt how to be cool in the morning, such as strapping his luggage, not trying too hard, making fun of others who are trying too hard, being good-looking, and driving a beautiful car. They arrive at school, park in the disabled place. Schmidt instantly succumbs to peer pressure and begins to strapping his backpack, and they notice that their high school has changed. They approach one of the groups. Jenko acts smug, makes fun of Eric and one of the students, and when he approaches him, Jenko strikes him. It turns out he's homosexual, and Jenko is already being accused of homophobia. They are warned in the principal's office that the principal is on the edge of a nervous breakdown due to a recent student overdose, and that if they approach his office again, they will be expelled. When the principal asks who is Doug, Jenko's hidden identity, Jenko inadvertently switches their identities and they end up in one another's classrooms. Schmidt is in theater class, while he is in AP chemistry. Schmidt gets close to a girl he likes, Molly, in his class, and quickly learns how to get the candy. Because of their conversation, the teacher summons him to audition for the role of Peter Pan. After failing horribly, he receives a text from the number on the bench and excuses himself. Jenko is a chemical student who plainly feels out of place. The teacher administers a pop quiz, and she thinks Jenko very beautiful. He isn't the smartest student, therefore he chooses the answers at random. She stutters when the teacher checks his chest. I mean his test. Schmidt texts him to arrange a meeting. They enter the dealing room, where Eric is seated. Eric has misgivings about the duo when Eric jokes that they are narcs, and they look 40. Eric begs them to bring the chocolates here to prove they are not odd. They pause, but since this is his ultimatum, they agree. They try to vomit to get it out of their system, but they can't. The caretaker is not amused by their next plan, which is to finger each other's mouths. They eventually fail and return to their lessons, claiming that they don't feel anything. The teacher approaches them and informs them that they are late for class, that he has read their file, and that Jenko will be a track star. Schmidt is the track star due to the previous name mix-up. As Schmidt says this, the candy begins to take effect. The first stage is giggling. Second, while the teacher is speaking, the lads have no notion what is going on and are tripping heavily. When he inquires whether they are high, they flatly deny it, and he believes them. Genko has been writing the number 4 the entire time he is attempting to illustrate an equation in chemistry class. This is the candy's overconfident stage. Schmidt storms into the theater class and begins his performance, which surprises everyone because it is actually rather good. Molly likes it, and the teacher welcomes him aboard. He is cast as Peter Pan. When you have no control over your behavior, you are at the 4th stage. Genko comes in and disrupts the music rehearsal. Schmidt appears confident, but when the baton is thrown to him with an overwhelming lead, he is quickly caught up with and the teacher is enraged. Schmidt is clearly having a good time. Sleepiness is the 5th phase. Eric develops feelings for Schmidt as a result of his blunders at the track meet. Genko is perplexed as to why nerdy things are now considered cool. Dixon is not pleased when the duo presents their findings to him, because their job is to infiltrate the dealers and uncover the supplier, and their board strategy is pointless. Genko tries to sneak into chemistry class at school. He thinks they're making candy, but they're actually playing Bookagin. There, he befriends the nerds, who volunteer to assist him in teaching Genko. Schmidt informs Genko that if he was born 10 years later, he would be the coolest kid in school. He believes this circumstance is fantastic because he is finally cool enough to sit with the popular kids. They devise a plot to separate up. Schmidt infiltrates the popular youngsters, and Genko reluctantly agrees to infiltrate the geeks. Schmidt calls Molly next evening to get closer to her, but his mother answers the phone and interrupts their chat, embarrassing him. Molly finds this amusing, and they begin talking about their parents. Genko then walks in and starts messing with him while he's on the phone, and Schmidt eventually manages to invite Molly to a party they're throwing next week. Molly was pleased with the call. Dixon learns of their party via Twitter, and the couple denies it. He threatens them with a foot up their buttocks if they sell booze to kids. They would never do that. Schmidt arranges for his parents to take a holiday. They purchase 2 liquor shopping carts and a block of Mary Jane from the evidence room. They toast a fantastic celebration, and the space quickly fills up. Molly and Eric show up. Genko grabs his phone and uses his new buddies to plant malware on it. Eric expresses his hate for his brother to Schmidt. Schmidt offers the guests a tour of his residence while Genko and his drunk companions fiddle with the phone. Some jerk from another school walks in and starts messing with Eric, all in the name of passing out candy. Schmidt steps in and attempts to protect Eric. Genko hears this and walks down the stairs, and he is punched. Things quickly escalate and everyone begins fighting. Genko is doing the majority of the fighting, while Schmidt is just being Schmidt. While the douchebag gang is getting beaten up, Genko manages to slip the phone back into Eric's pocket. Everyone applauds Schmidt, but the crowd immediately falls silent as they realize he was stabbed. He simply says it's fantastic, and they applaud once more. Schmidt's parents are driving home, his mother having left her phone at home. They are able to extract the dagger and take a few more shots to numb the agony. Schmidt connects with Eric and Molly and feels as if he's always been a part of their group. Schmidt's parents storm in, furiously dispersing the gathering. Eric tells Schmidt that this is the nicest party he's ever gone to, so he promises to make some quick money. Whatever it is, the lads are chastised by their parents. The two went to a shooting range to distress. Genko admits to listening in on Eric's phone, but his partner is upset since he has grown fond of Eric. Eric hands him chocolates, which he then hands to Dixon, making it appear as if he sold the entire batch. Genko enjoys the experiments that the nerd club conducts as he grows closer to them. Schmidt has a love interest in Molly. Genko and Schmidt become estranged. Molly hugs Schmidt and kisses Eric when he visits Eric's house. Genko and the lads install spy software on Eric's phone and overhear Schmidt and Molly conversing. She cautions him about the candy business since she doesn't want him to get in trouble because he's a lovely guy. They discuss the forthcoming prom. Molly admits that she is skeptical of prom but would go if someone fun invited her, a reference to Schmidt. He thinks on his high school failings, but still manages to invite her to prom, and she accepts. She moves in for a kiss, but he declines and instead shakes her hand. The remainder of the gang joins them and asks about his sibling and why they are so dissimilar. Schmidt informs them that Genko is adopted and that he is stupid, which saddens Genko, who is still listening. Later, at their hideout, Genko is irritated with Schmidt, and other undercover agents approach them, telling them that their candy has already spread to other schools. Dixon is frustrated with their lack of progress. Genko informs him that he tapped Eric's phone and overheard him mention Pinata. Outside, Schmidt asks Genko whether that's all he heard from Eric's phone the day before, and Genko lies and says yes. Molly tells Schmidt before the play that he is the one guy she can trust. Genko is in chemistry class presenting his homework when he notices Eric's friends racing about with a pi+/- auto. He dashes off and calls Schmidt just before heading to set. Schmidt promises to call back as soon as possible. They got in the car but can't get out because their car has been seized due to parking citations. They thought they looked great with them. They steal a student driver's car and later observe Eric handing out pinatas to the biker group they encountered in the park that got them this job. They pursue them and begin arguing as Genko hits the instructor brakes and refuses to let go, so he accelerates and smacks Genko, slamming one of the bikers, who gets on their car in a frenzy because they destroyed his bike. They pass them and run a red light, and the bikers chase them. On the way, one of the bikers drives into a petrol tank, bracing for impact but nothing occurs. Another biker drives into a leaky gasoline truck, which also does not explode, and the last one with a pi+/ auto crashes into a truck with chickens and it explodes. Meanwhile, Molly is concerned that Schmidt will be late for the play. When the two arrive at school, Genko complains that Schmidt is ruining the whole thing because he is too invested and emotionally committed. Schmidt simply calls him stupid. The game has already begun, but Schmidt finds his way through and embarrasses Molly. He aggressively switches with his substitute and flies, just as Genko enters and jumps on him, enraged that Schmidt called him foolish. Genko collapses, and Molly tells Schmidt she will never speak to him again. The two continue to argue, and the audience is captivated, believing it is all part of the act. Schmidt sprinkles some fairy dust, and Genko says he overheard everything he said to Molly the night before. The principal enters and informs them that they have been expelled. Dixon can't believe it and simply fires them. Genko walks away and tells Schmidt that he thought they were brothers and that he would have taken a bullet for him. Eric arrives and orders them to get inside the car. They go to a remote location, where Eric expresses his fear of being followed by cops the day before. What happens to good-looking men like Eric in prison? It sounds like Grape. Eric hands them pistols and asks them to assist him with a candy deal that is taking place at the same time as prom. It's time for them to get their jobs back, so they can prepare for prom. They dress up, stock up on weapons, do some chores, and partially reconcile shortly before going out. They attend Genko's new buddy's prom. Schmidt finds Molly, who is high, and tells her his real name, that he's a cop, and begs her to leave before accompanying Eric to the supplier meeting. The teacher turns out to be the supplier. Genko's friends are gathering evidence in the bathroom. The new potential customers are met by the biker gang. The gang boss does not recognize them at first, but Schmidt does. Molly arrives at the door with phase 4 of the candy. She is enraged and yells at Schmidt that he is a cop, and the leader realizes it at the same time. Though Eric has time to be disappointed that Schmidt was lying to him, they even made friendship bracelets. Eric is knocked unconscious, and Molly runs in, taking her captive but shortly falling asleep. The two lower their weapons, and one of the motorcyclists approaches them to fire, only to discover that he and another guy are the D. The couple is relieved, but rapidly closes down as the agents inform them that they have just botched a 5-year operation. Nonetheless, they strike up a nice chat. However, when both parties find that they are from the Jump Street division, one agent is shot and a shootout begins. Schmidt isn't the best person to have in these situations. Eric and the teacher flee with the money, and the gang pursues them, prompting the couple to flee and chase after them. A limo chase begins with a gunfight. Eventually, Genko concocts a battery cocktail from chemistry class and throws it into the biker limo, which explodes twice. They confront the teacher who has kidnapped Molly. He fires at Schmidt, but Genko takes a bullet for him. Molly escapes the teacher's hands, and Schmidt shoots his manhood off. He is arrested and his Miranda rights are read to him. They had finally reconciled and name each other their best friend. Molly kisses Schmidt after he apologizes and assures her she deserves better. Captain Dixon is overjoyed to rehire them as agents and informs them that their next assignment will be in college. Please subscribe to assist the channel, turn on notification and leave a like. Thank you for taking the time to watch. See you again soon.